So I'm quite happy because what George presented before, I'm quite close to the analysis I want to follow. The problem with me is that I always have lengthy and wordy presentations, and there's not really much of a time to present them. So I'm running fast. My topic is about the risks of AI, the issues, or the intersections of AI and automation technologies, and how, of course, will affect what we call the job displacement. In other words, if AI is going to kill our jobs in the future, and especially the job for female workers. So it's not, Steve is laughing because I'm not starting in a very optimistic way, isn't it? I mean, um, but in reality, I will say that perhaps the impact of the AI in our jobs is more a neologism, a media narrative, a rhetoric created by the media for certain reasons. So, uh, is it working? This sorry, is it? Yes, Borat. You just need to switch it off. Okay, so we're talking about AI, and I didn't even have it switch it off. Okay, so it's not the first time we have this discussion that machines are going to replace human labor. Okay, that people are going to lose their jobs because of technological advancements. You will find similar narratives in the more classical economics, huh? From Ricardo, from Adam Smith, of course, from Marx about the reserve army, or even modern institutional economists like Mariana Mazzucato and Keynes as well, all the classical big names, but also modern scholars. The real issue there is technological unemployment. That as technology is improving, we don't need so many people to do the job. I'm going to challenge this in a while. So it's not the first time we have a narrative, a discourse, a debate, a public debate about the future of work that is related to the advancement of technology. It's not the first time that we have an industrial revolution, a technological revolution. Actually, we used to say that we are in the fourth industrial revolution after the third industrial revolution, which was the computerization that actually cost a lot of jobs. And after, of course, the massive application of manufacturing, a production line, Taylorism, Fordist methods, and of course, the first industrial revolutions in Britain with the Luddites, people who hated to see the fear of losing their jobs because of the machines, and they start breaking the machines. So, technological unemployment is not something new. The discussion about the end of work, as we know it, it's not something new. The imagination of a post work society where people will not have to work is not something new. Actually, there was recently, perhaps George knows about that, a book that why Keynes was wrong, because Keynes used to say almost 100 years ago that people will work 15 hours per week. In reality, humanity, global humanity, sorry for the expression, has become workaholic losers. We work more and more time. I see more and more often people in the university, in the places I work, I go out. How are you? I'm tired. Why on earth are you tired? I mean, technology doesn't help you? No. Actually, it intensifies my labor effort. It extends my working hours. I take work at home. It's not the first time, but it is true, and I'm quite happy to say this because George provided a very good background information to that. The reality is that there's a fear and anxiety about AI, which is much different than in the past. Why this is happening? Why AI is different? First of all, because we talk about technologies that they apply in all type of industries and in multiple ways, a wide range of tasks. Chatbots, warehouse robots in Amazon, for example, where usually, you know, Steve, Amazon invites school kids at a Coventry warehouse with the robots, but the kids are always disappointed after the visit because they thought that they will see something like a humanoid, you know, and in reality they just see a robot that does the job without, you know, hands, walks, and stuff like that. But so we talk about a lot of tasks that are taken over by AI software solutions and advanced automation and advanced manufacturing, chatbots, warehouse, autonomous vehicles, and stuff like that. So, in that sense, this creates a sense of fear and anxiety, which is, of course, probable. But in my view, and actually, this is the slide of my conclusions, but I prefer to put them in the start because usually get tired after a while. I hope this is not the case in my presentation, of course. But in reality, I think we have two types of problems here, two kinds of problems. The first, yes, are we going to have a job distraction to a massive, unprecedented scale? Or are we going to have, instead of a job turnover, a role turnover? That, for example, as we do now, imagine ourselves in the universities. We use now AI to some extent, ChatGPT, for example. Not many people lost their jobs, but some people, they have to change their tasks or to change the way they work. So basically, we have a transition of workers from one role to another. Or are we having massive job distraction? And the second problem, which unfortunately is not much highlighted, but I think it's more important, is the problem of job quality. Because AI is not only effective the number of jobs and the volume of working hours, AI also affects working industrial relations, employment relations, the jobs we do, the autonomy we have over our jobs, the relationships with our supervisors and line managers, and a lot of issues that has to do with how work is organized and regulated. So we have two kinds of problems and a big confusion. I'm going to say just a little bit about one aspect of this confusion because other aspects, I think George highlighted them really well. One of them has to do that automation mainly takes two types of forms. The first is the robots, and the second is the AI. With the robots, things are not so straightforward regarding actually the threat to employment. Actually, I'm going to show you some statistics that actually in countries that they have strong innovation systems, manufacturing employment was increased despite the introduction of more robots. But robots is easy to measure its impact on employment because basically they are units. And there is an organization which is called the International Federation of Robotics that collects all the data about robot installation across manufacturing in the world. Of course, robots can be applied, can be used in all types of industries, but the reality is that they are mainly used in manufacturing. Artificial intelligence is a much more difficult thing. With AI, it's much harder to measure the impact of work. So, Steve, for example, if I work ChatGPT, which is an AI software, nobody can really measure my productivity because of this application and software solution. Nobody could know. But with the robots, we know because it's units, and every time we have a new robot installation, there is an international organization that measures that. And of course, every time we have a robot installation, we can also see the productivity, the capacity of the plant, of the operation that is changing because of this. So, which countries use robots? Any ideas? Any ideas? Which countries use robots? Which is the best, most, let's say, sorry? Sorry. Japan. No, it's not Japan, but you are close. Korea. Korea is number one. Let's see about that. South Korea. Actually, in reality, because the statistics I have are a bit outdated, are 2021, and because China is moving extremely fast, and because China is the only country in the world that we have still industrialization, we don't have this model of deindustrializations where all the main activities of the economies are in the service industry. China is a bit straight into that, is moving very fast. But according to the data I have, which are 2021, South Korea, Japan, and Germany are the main countries that use robots. Um, Unfortunately, both my countries, UK and Greece, are not even in the first 20 countries in that, which is, of course, it's an aspect of how hard we invest now in Britain in the service economy, financial industry mainly, despite the fact that we used to be one of the biggest industrial hub and the place that where the first industrial revolution happened in the world. So China is growing fast, but South Korea is, let's say, leading the race. Here are some statistics. It's called robot density. How many robots per 10,000 employees? As I said, the statistics are a bit old. It's published 2021, but it's about 2020, so many things have changed. Britain is not even in the first 20 countries, but you can see Korea, Singapore, Japan, Germany, Sweden, Hong Kong, USA, and China are the main countries that they use robots. Okay, so we have robots in manufacturing. How this has affected employment? There are estimates, academic estimates. Basically, this research seminal research of Ray and Osborne by Oxford University that they say that the number of jobs who are at risk because of robots is something like 10 to 15%. And in reality, as I said, we have a decline in the level of employment in manufacturing. But as you can see here, robots is not the main reason why we have a decline in manufacturing. And there is a very good example to show this, which is Germany, which is a country with many robot installations, but very small employment reduction. Why this is happening? Because of strong innovation systems. Because we have an example like, for example, the car factory Fiat in Italy, where robots installations resulted in massive job losses. Of course, the boss of Fiat was very happy about that because he was fed up with the trade unions, the Italian trade unions. So he didn't really mind about that. That's the reality. But what is important to say here is that the innovation system, how value, as George implied before, is created, co-created and captured, matters a lot. And it's not the installation of robots that matters more than that. So innovation capabilities matter a lot. Value co-destruction, value destruction process, because creation and destruction of value happens at the same time. They have a very dialectical relationship, and value capture is also very important. Let's look on the statistics here. UK, which as I said is not even in the first 20 countries, we have significant decline in manufacturing. And a very small increase in the robots installation. Germany, which had a tremendous increase in robots, they have a marginal, let's say, reduction, minimum reduction, which again indicates how important is how innovation matters. Something else that we have to say, the Amazon model. Amazon is a country, a company. Actually, it's a country. If we look, if we look on the actual value and market value valuation of Amazon, is much bigger than many states together. But Amazon model here, it's interesting because despite the fact that they have a dramatic installation of robots and robotics in their logistics, and despite the fact that their logistics activities really boomed after the pandemic, nevertheless, we had in parallel significant increase in employment. Just a number, I'm not talking about industrial relations, but in employment, we also have increased. So the model there, it's not humans versus robots, but it's humans plus robots. So one aspect of automation, one main aspect of automation, which has to do with robots and robotics, we see that there is not clear, straightforward, linear relationships, that more robots means more job loss. It could be quite the opposite, and it depends on several factors that, according to McKinsey Institute, indicates how important is the role of the innovation system, the innovation ecosystems that exist, the regulations that exist in each country, and so on. With the AI, as I said, it's software. It's very hard to measure the impact on employment and the jobs that are lost. And further than that, let's be honest, the use of AI is still very limited. Okay, it has not really occupied most of the activities of people's jobs and organizations. Look, in our case, in universities, for example, 20, 30 years ago, I don't know, the dean perhaps remembers, we didn't have facilities like this. We still have facilities now, modern one, but we didn't lose jobs because of this new improvements in the way we deliver our teaching and do our research. The other also important thing is to understand is that not many employers will admit that they are planning to lay off people because of the AI. It's not a good thing to say that we are going to stop employing more people because of new AI solutions. But the reality is that AI is not so extensive in practice. And a very good example of that is the fintech industry, where only a very small fraction of activities, something like below 5% of all activities and tasks, have been taken over by AI. And I'm talking about fintech, which is by definition an industry that operates with cloud services, and it's a digitalized industry and so on. And here we come again to what we were discussing about the how value is created, distracted, and captured. And here we see the McKinsey Global Institute. McKinsey Global Institute, perhaps you know that the dean knows that, of course, very well because of the talent management and leadership theories, how hard they have affected the war for talent and all of that stuff, that they come to a very crucial point here, McKinsey Global Institutes, that if AI is going to become more usable, the countries that are going to take advantage of AI are countries that to some extent, they have some superiority in the labor force institutions. Remember the example of Italy. The quality of labor force, labor market institutions are not that great in comparison, for example, to Germany. So this created in the installation of robots and the loss of jobs. The second important factor is the digital infrastructure and the innovative capabilities. For example, do we have internet everywhere? Do we have fast internet? Is broadband quite effective? Or let's say broadband network activity is unevenly distributed across countries, which is usually the case. Let's be honest. For example, London will always be ahead of any other city in Britain in technological advancement. Why? Because we have a concentration of productivity and concentration of many activities. Venezia used to be one of the richest countries in the past. Why? Because they have so many professions. And China, which is a giant economically and in terms of the population, if you see the digital advancement, it's only concentrated in Shenzhen, in Shanghai, and some parts of Beijing. Or even in the USA, technological advancement areas are the Bay Area, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and of course, the place that Harvard and the other university in Boston. That's all. I mean, we always have a geographical uneven distribution of technology and so on. But If you have better infrastructure innovation capabilities, this could be an advantage. And Bahrain, this could be an advantage for smaller countries like Bahrain. Huh? So you can be much more advanced than many places in China, in USA, in Britain, in every country, because it's smaller. And finally, well-trained human capital. How important is, yesterday we discussed a lot about the role of education, the impact that education and higher education and research brings to the economies, to the societies, to the local communities, not just to the individuals. So if you have those three factors, yes, your country is going to compete, advance in the global race of AI technology and so on. And what we see at the moment, and this was written in a very explicit manner in a recent book by Bradford. Basically, I remember her name because of the city. It's very easy, you know. Bradford 2023, that she says that AI has become basically a rebranding process, a global race for AI supremacy between China, USA, and Europe. But as we saw, some countries like South Korea, Germany, and Japan, they can also play a very important role. Something else that is also difficult to measure the impact of AI is that AI is what the Americans say no-brainer technologies. You know what you have to do. It's not, Ahmed, for example, in the past when we had the revolution with electricity. This revolution, after the steam, we came have the electricity. Electricity has certain advantages. We apply them. That's it. With the AI, we have to decide if we are going to use this software. We will have to decide if we are going to use, for example, ChatGPT, and how we will use it, and for what reason. Sometimes not for good reason. This year, for example, something like 4 billion people will go to vote for the next government. And we know that there is a serious issue of malpractice of AI tools with deep fakes, fake news, and all of that stuff. So AI is, as the Americans say, no-brainer technology. We have to decide how are we going to use it, to what extent, for what reason, for what purpose, and so on. It's not that straightforward as in the previous industrial revolutions. And that makes the case much more interesting and, of course, more important to understand what is going to happen. And here are some very, very important points. Do I have time? Only 2 minutes. Okay, all right. I think I haven't said much, but anyway, I'm gonna skip some slides then. So it's not the first time we talk about uh, how technology can affect employment, human labor at work. But in the media, it's a different story. In the media, we realize that there is no way around. I mean, that people are going to lose their jobs a lot. In academic research, there is a lack of consensus. Other studies, they say that half of our jobs are at high risk. Other studies, they say that this is much less. We have not come out to a consensus about the actual impact of AI in work. But if we look on the statistics, we have to take into account other important factors. For example, we have a population aging effect, more older people than younger people. How this is going to affect our jobs? There will be growing demand for personal services, for example. A second important thing, yes, there is a great demand for people who use data analysis, and advanced methods. There is a great also use for platform workers. The first person I saw jumping out of the hotel to come here was a guy with a motorbike who is called gig worker. He works for a platform with a very low wage, precarious wage, and this is a global thing. What is happening? We have excessive demand for low, underpaid, precarious jobs, and for very high-tech, well-paid jobs. The middle is lost. The middle is lost in many, many countries, and this is very, very important. Something else that the statistics tell us is that there are some new industries, like energy renewable industries, Ahmed, that it's a global thing. You see dramatic rise of jobs from Kenya to Nigeria, China, Egypt, whenever it is. These industries were never the same as they used to be in the past or 30 years ago. Sorry, can I have your patience for 2 minutes? Is that okay? Sorry for that. I know I'm terrible. What we also realize is that beyond the statistics, governments are struggling to deal with the current challenges. We don't have universal regulations about AI, for example. We have AI summits, which is more of a branding event. So leaders talk each other, they make some big statements, or the World Economic Forum in Davos, but lack of regulation. So I have a lot of statistics that unfortunately we don't have time to present them. I'll just finish here with some key trends that technological progress is not leading to improvements in job quality. The adoption of automation is not uniform across pace and skills. That work is key to health outcomes, and that labor markets are increasing dramatically, especially in countries like USA. We are better than USA and UK, but we still have a problem there. And this also affects a lot female labor and the position of female labor and migrant labor in the labor market. And sometimes don't forget that AI and the algorithms do not play fair, but I don't have much of a time to explain this. So, final slide. It's good that we talk about the impact of AI in the number of jobs, but we also need to talk about the quality of life. And if you visit a big bookshop, you will realize that by the time that we have more and more books and publications about self-help book, how to make friends, how to be confident, how to be a leader, how to be something better than what you are. People are struggling in the modern reality, and this to a great extent has to do with our jobs. So this is a latest survey by Nevin and Layard that indicates that the word happiness is more popular in the English book language books in the last 20 years than GDP, which is still the obsession of growth. Why I'm saying this is that we should also start talking more about well-being, about prosperity, and not only about economic growth. Okay, sorry for that. Thank you very much.